We're going to now spend a few minutes on talking about annuities and the present and future values. Now, I've already talked about this a little bit in basic present value, in the basic present value introduction. But let's just get some of the terminology out of the way and think about what an annuity actually is and why it matters. And this is going to matter because a little later we're going to talk about perpetuities. They're a type of annuity that is used in valuing things. So what's an annuity? An annuity is basically a pretty simple concept. It's repeated equal payments. Now, as the name suggests, this name actually comes from the fact that annuities used to be paid annually. They were a type of investment product in the dim, dark early days of investment. But generally, when we talk about an annuity, even though the name suggests that it's an annual payment, annuity techniques can be used for any repeated equal payments. So sometimes when we value businesses, we make assumptions about how much cash flow they're going to generate in future. And if we assume those cash flows are equal, we can value them a certain way using annuity formulae. Okay, so with an annuity, many examples of annuities: loan repayments, putting aside an amount to invest on a regular basis, investing the same amount. How much will I end up with? How much will, or how much do I start with if I want to generate that much income? So, for example, one thing that I'm thinking about is how much have I got in my superannuation? How much do I need to have in order for it to generate a certain amount of dollars for me when I retire, to keep me in the lifestyle I've been accustomed to, dirt poor. Okay, so what I've done is I've put up the slide from the main slide deck that shows you future value of annuities, because I want to talk you through the formula. Now, I know I'd try not to freak you out by formulas too much, but the formula actually makes sense. And if you can understand this first version of it, the second version is just a contraction of it using a sum of series, but we don't need to worry about that. Let's try to understand how the basic formula works. Future value is the amount of money you're going to have at the end of the whole period. And the period is going to last n years or n intervals. Okay, the question that we're trying to ask with a future value of an annuity, well, it depends on what your question is. You could be saying, hey, I want a certain future value. What payment do I have to put aside? Or you're going to be asking the alternative question, which is, hey, if I put aside this payment every period, how much am I going to have at the end of the period? Okay, given a certain assumption about how much I can earn on what I put aside. In other words, how much the interest rate is. Interest rate or the earning rate. Now, we keep referring to I as an interest rate. I should refer to it as a discount rate because it's a pretty general term. It reflects how much I can earn on any assets, to be honest. Okay, so let's just look at this formula because it's actually a lot simpler than you think. This is a formula for an annuity where you put away the first payment at the end of the first period. So if there are n periods and the first payment is put away at the end of the first period, it's going to earn interest and interest on interest and interest on interest and interest on that for n minus 1 periods, right? So if I'm putting away an annuity over 50 years and my first payment is at the end of the first year, then that payment is 49 years away from the end. Okay, so that first payment is going to be earning interest and interest on interest and interest on interest for 50 minus 1 years. Okay, so that's the first payment. Then the next payment is going to be n minus 2, 1 year less. The next payment is going to be 1 year less. And then the payment that you make at the end will not be earning any interest because it came in just at the end of the 50th year. The payment you made at the end of the 49th year will have earned 1 lot of interest. The payment at the end of the 48th year will have earned 2 lots of interest. Okay, so see how the formula works? What it basically says is, hey, look, we've stuck aside this amount and it's been earning a lot of interest. Then the next one's been earning a little bit less and the next one a little bit less. And the fourth last one has only been earning interest for 3 periods. The third last one only been earning interest for 2 periods. Second last one only for 1 period. And the last one, oh, it came in just at the end. It hasn't had a chance to earn any interest. Okay, and that formula, if any of you are good at summing series, you can sum the series and come up with a simplified version. Although, of course, you'll see that in textbooks and you can look that up. And to be honest, your calculator does that for you. So the future value of an annuity is, again, just like those little tables we did. We have an opening balance of 0. We earn some interest, and none in the first year. Actually, let's do a table. Right? Let's say let's say we've got opening balance. Let's make the annuity 10 years. I don't know, let's make the interest rate 10%, just to make it fun. Okay, opening balance, 0. I haven't put any aside yet. What's my interest? 10% of 0. Let's say we're going to put $10 away a year. So the payment, we put away $10. So what's my closing balance at the end of the first year? Hey, it's the sum of those things. And the opening balance in the second year is that. Let's just make sure. Okay, so the interest here, that's 10% of 10. Okay, let's just move it forward. Hey, I'm freaking out with the decimal places, so let's let's make it to the closest sense. Okay. So there's an annuity. I've put aside 10 payments of $10. If I'm earning interest of 10%, what do I end up with after 10 years? $159.37. Okay, so I can do that in Excel. I can do that on a financial calculator. I've got future value, 10%, number of periods, 10, payments, $10, present value, there's nothing to start with, type, I'm making the payments at the end of the period. And it always gives you minus. Let's stick a minus inside to make it normal. It's $159.37. Okay, so that formula that Excel has is basically the same as this future value formula. Now, in what other circumstance do you want to do an annuity calculation? You might want to do a present value. Going back to my issue, look, I want to know how much money I need when I turn 67 that's going to generate a certain amount of income for me for the rest of my life. Okay, so let's put in some numbers. Let's put in my situation. When I'm age 67, hey, let's say I'm going to die at, dying late is pessimistic because I need more money, right? So let's say I'm going to die at 96. Oh, keep going. My dad died at 86, so if I go to 96, that should be okay. Okay. So I basically want, how many years is that? I'm not going to do a table, you know. I think I'm just going to get Excel to do it. Okay, for 29 years. Now, let's say that I want to know what, actually, I know what the payment is. I want to know the present value. How much money do I need? And the present value is year 67. How much money do I need in year 67 to generate, say, 100,000 every year until age 96? So the present value at a rate, well, here I've got to make an assumption. Once I've gone into superannuation, once I've retired, what interest do I think my superannuation is going to earn? Let's say it's 8%. I'm going to be alive for 29 years. Payment, well, you know, 100,000 a year would be nice. Future value, I'm happy to leave nothing to my kids. So once it's used up, I want it to be 0. And I want the cash flows to happen at the beginning of each period. Okay. So in order to have 100,000 a year until I die, let's put a minus in front of that to make the minus go away. In order to have 100,000 a year every year until I die, I've got to have, at age 67, 1.205 million. Okay, so let's say My opening balance, age 67 is that. I immediately take out the payment. Remember, I said I was going to take 100,000 every year. Let's get rid of all my cents. Let's make this tidy. What interest rate did I say? I said I'm going to earn an 8% of interest on whatever I've got once I've taken the initial amount out. So equals 8% of whatever I've got left there. And that's my closing balance. And let's see if I end up with 0 by the time I die. So, okay, opening balance next year is the closing balance for this year. I hope I've done this right. Okay, so let's go down to 96. Rounding error. 67. Oh, hang on, this is my 95th year. So the beginning of the year is when I turn 95. So the end of the year is when I turn 96. Yeah, so that's right. I turn 96 and die, and I've got 0 cash left. Okay, that's cool. So that's an easy way of saying how much do I have to have at age 67. Well, okay, that's great. That tells me how much I need to have at 67. I'm 52 now. So how much do I need to save in order to have 1.205 million at age 67? Well, I can do that. Now I've done the present value of an annuity. Now I want to say, okay, I want the future. I know this is the future value from today's perspective, because this was the present value from the perspective of age 67, looking into future years. But from today's perspective, me being 52, that's out in the future. Okay, so what payments do I have to make? Let's say my superannuation fund earns 8%. Yeah, okay. 8%. Number of periods, well, I'm 52 now. I'm going to retire when I'm 67, so that's 15 years. The present value, let's say I've got 0 cash now. And at the end, I need $1,205, 107.85. And I want to make my first payment straight away. I have to put aside 44, put a minus in front of it. I've got to put aside 44,000 every year for the next 15 years in order to have that 1.205 million. And I could do a table to show you that, but I think you probably trust me by now, I hope. Okay, but the point is I can answer that question that way. So annuities are useful if you're looking at constant cash flows into the future. You're either looking at the amount you want to save, or you're looking at an amount that's going to be consumed and you want to know, hey, how much do I need up front to allow me to consume that amount each year? Okay, that's annuities.